On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared from radar. This routine flight, carrying 239 souls, was en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The Boeing 777-200ER, a modern and reliable aircraft, vanished without a trace. The world watched in disbelief as the mystery unfolded. What happened to MH370? Where did it go? These questions haunted families and investigators alike. MH370 took off at 12:41 a.m. local time. The flight was normal. The crew made routine contact with air traffic control. Then, at 1:19 a.m. the unthinkable happened. Communication with MH370 ceased. The transponder which transmits the plane's location went silent. Radar contact was lost shortly after. A massive search and rescue operation was launched. The initial focus was the South China Sea, the last known location of the aircraft. However, military radar data soon revealed a shocking truth. MH370 had deviated from its planned route. It had turned west and flown across the Malay Peninsula. The mystery deepened. Why would MH370 deviate from its course? What were the pilots thinking? The search area expanded. It now encompassed a vast expanse of the Indian Ocean. The search for MH370 had become an unprecedented international effort. The disappearance of MH370 triggered one of the largest and most complex searches in aviation history. Countries from around the world joined forces. They deployed ships, aircraft, and sophisticated underwater vehicles. The initial search focused on the South China Sea, where MH370 was last detected by civilian radar. However, analysis of military radar data and satellite communications revealed a shocking twist. MH370 had turned back, crossed the Malay Peninsula, and flown south over the Indian Ocean. The search area shifted dramatically. It now encompassed a vast and remote stretch of ocean west of Australia. The search in the southern Indian Ocean was fraught with challenges. The area was vast, the waters deep, and the seabed terrain was largely unmapped. Despite these obstacles, search teams persevered. They utilized advanced sonar technology to scan the ocean floor. They deployed autonomous underwater vehicles to explore areas inaccessible to larger vessels. Despite their best efforts, the search yielded no trace of the missing aircraft. Months turned into years. Hope began to dwindle. The families of the passengers and crew grew increasingly frustrated with the lack of answers. They demanded to know what happened to their loved ones. Years after MH370 vanished, pieces of the aircraft began to wash ashore. These fragments, found on islands and coastlines thousands of miles apart, offered tantalizing clues to the plane's fate. The first piece of debris, a flaperon, was discovered on Reunion Island in July 2015. This wing component, confirmed to be from MH370, provided the first physical evidence that the plane had indeed crashed in the Indian Ocean. More debris surfaced in the months and years that followed. A piece of the horizontal stabilizer was found on the coast of Mozambique. Parts of the interior cabin, including a seat and part of a window, washed ashore in Tanzania. Each piece was meticulously examined by investigators. They hoped to find clues that could shed light on the circumstances of the crash. The debris provided valuable insights into the final moments of MH370. The condition of the flaperon suggested that the plane had not landed on water in a controlled manner. It pointed towards a high-speed impact. The lack of marine life on the debris indicated that the plane had not been in the water for an extended period. This reinforced the belief that MH370 had crashed shortly after disappearing from radar. The discovery of debris, while heartbreaking, provided some measure of closure for the families of those lost. It confirmed that MH370 had met a tragic end. However, it did little to answer the burning question, why? The investigation into the disappearance of MH370 was one of the most complex and challenging in aviation history. Led by the Malaysian government, the investigation involved experts from around the world. They scrutinized every aspect of the flight, from the aircraft's maintenance records to the pilot's backgrounds. The investigation team faced a daunting task. They had no wreckage to examine, no black box recordings to analyze, and no eyewitnesses to interview. The only clues they had to work with were the limited radar data, satellite communications, and the debris that had washed ashore. Despite these challenges, the investigation team made some progress. They were able to piece together a rough timeline of the flight's final hours. They determined that the plane had deviated from its planned course shortly after its last communication with air traffic control. They also confirmed that the plane had flown south over the Indian Ocean for several hours before disappearing from radar. However, the investigation team was unable to determine what caused MH370 to deviate from its course, or what happened in the final moments of the flight. The lack of a definitive explanation only deepened the mystery surrounding the disappearance. The role of the pilot, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, came under intense scrutiny during the investigation of MH370. With no other plausible explanation for the plane's bizarre flight path, investigators began to explore the possibility that the captain had deliberately crashed the aircraft. Captain Shah was a veteran pilot with over 18,000 hours of flying experience. He was known for his professionalism and technical skills. However, investigators discovered some troubling details about his personal life. He was reportedly going through a difficult divorce and had been experiencing emotional distress in the months leading up to the disappearance. Furthermore, investigators discovered a flight simulator in Captain Shah's home. The simulator contained data showing that someone had used it to practice a flight path similar to the one taken by MH370. This discovery raised serious concerns about the captain's state of mind and his possible involvement in the plane's disappearance. While the evidence against Captain Shah was largely circumstantial, it was enough to convince some investigators that he had deliberately crashed the plane. However, others remained skeptical. They argued that there was no clear motive for suicide and that the captain's actions could be explained by other factors, such as a hijacking or a sudden medical emergency. Section 6. Alternative Theories, Exploring Other Possibilities. While the pilot suicide theory gained considerable traction, other possible scenarios for the disappearance of MH370 were also explored. These alternative theories ranged from plausible to far-fetched. One theory suggested that MH370 had suffered a catastrophic mechanical failure. This theory was supported by the fact that the plane's transponder and ACARS system, which automatically transmits data about the aircraft systems, had both stopped working. However, experts pointed out that even a major mechanical failure would not explain the plane's deliberate course change or its long flight over the Indian Ocean. Another theory proposed that MH370 had been hijacked. This theory gained some support from the fact that the plane's communication systems had been deliberately switched off. However, no group or individual ever came forward to claim responsibility for the hijacking. Nor was there any evidence of a struggle in the cockpit or any demands made. Some even speculated that MH370 had been the victim of a cyber attack. They suggested that hackers could have taken control of the plane's systems remotely and flown it to a secret location. However, there was no evidence to support this theory. The technology required to remotely hijack a plane in this way was not believed to exist in 2014. Section 7. A Legacy of Loss. The Aftermath of MH370. The disappearance of MH370 had a profound impact on the aviation industry and the world at large. The tragedy exposed weaknesses in aircraft tracking systems and highlighted the need for improved safety measures. In the aftermath of the disaster, the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, implemented new regulations requiring airlines to track their aircraft more closely. The families of the passengers and crew were left to cope with the unimaginable loss of their loved ones. They faced years of uncertainty and frustration as the search for answers dragged on. Many criticized the Malaysian government's handling of the investigation. They accused officials of withholding information and mishandling the search effort. The families also struggled to obtain adequate compensation from Malaysia Airlines and the Malaysian government. The airline eventually agreed to pay compensation to the families, but the process was lengthy and contentious. The disappearance of MH370 served as a stark reminder of the human cost of aviation disasters. It also underscored the importance of transparency and accountability in the airline industry. Section 8. New Developments. The search continues in 2025. Despite the passage of time, the search for MH370 has not been abandoned. In 2024, Ocean Infinity, a private exploration company that had previously been involved in the search, announced plans to resume the search. The company, using advanced underwater technology and a team of expert oceanographers, believes that they can finally locate the missing aircraft. Ocean Infinity's decision to resume the search was based on new analysis of existing data. The company believes that previous searches may have missed the wreckage due to slight inaccuracies in satellite data. Armed with this new information, Ocean Infinity is confident that they can pinpoint the location of MH370. The company's decision to resume the search has been met with cautious optimism from the families of those lost on MH370. While they acknowledge that the chances of finding the wreckage are slim, they believe that it is important to keep searching for answers. The resumption of the search offers a glimmer of hope that the mystery of MH370 may one day be solved. Section 9. Lessons learned. MH370's impact on aviation. The disappearance of MH370 was a watershed moment for the aviation industry. It exposed vulnerabilities in aircraft tracking systems and led to significant changes in safety regulations. Prior to MH370, aircraft were typically tracked using ground-based radar systems. These systems were effective over land, but had limited range over water. In the aftermath of the disaster, the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, mandated that all commercial aircraft be equipped with systems that provide more frequent and accurate tracking data. These systems, which utilize satellites and other technologies, allow airlines to monitor the location of their aircraft in real time, even over remote areas like the southern Indian Ocean. The disappearance of MH370 also led to improvements in the design and capabilities of flight data recorders, commonly known as black boxes. The ICAO recommended that airlines consider equipping their aircraft with deployable recorders that would eject from the plane in the event of a crash and transmit their data via satellite. These improvements are designed to prevent another MH370 scenario, where the lack of wreckage and black box data hindered the investigation and prolonged the agony of the families. The lessons learned from MH370 have made air travel safer for everyone. While the mystery of what happened on that fateful flight may never be fully solved, the legacy of MH370 lives on in the form of enhanced safety protocols and a renewed commitment to finding answers when tragedies occur.